5 or 6 left. But over the space of a year, when we got it together, then they improved, and then a few of the new ones come in. We
Yeah,
had a real good year,
we
really
did.
good year. I see it regularly. Is not to deal with it.
Okay.
The problem is with that, it will always at some stage resurface. So, and then it's definitely not a benefit to you, or more importantly, the player. And there's no clarity. We all know by nature, sport can be emotive. There's that saying, isn't there? You step over the white line, things change. And I think that reflects the games.
It's a battle arena, isn't it?
There's nothing wrong with that. Emotion's part and parcel of the game, but it's how you manage that and how you respect it. People often have different opinions, and it's dealing with those correctly. Particularly if you want to maintain your standing and your reputation. If you've got a reputation you believe in deeply, you want to keep that reputation. And I think how you communicate with people, being honest, not always telling them what they want to hear, but being clear and honest is key to dealing with it. With that,
you've worked with players right before they made it. Any notable names?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I can give you good general experiences.
Yeah.
Because
Go for it.
I have coached Sleade just on raw ability. I've noticed traveling. There's a lot of socialness to it. There's a lot of mental side to the game. I mean, being injured, not being selected, constantly fighting for a contract or your place within the team. And this alludes to an academy as much as it does once you're in the first team. Children, young children, teenagers, they're basically vying against each other so forget technical ability. That's obviously got to be a given. The psychological corner, out of the 4 corners, I think players that are really strong in that corner can override other issues and progress them as they go along. The players that struggle with that psychological corner, in my view, seldom take the next step on in the professional game. I think you've got to support them. Again, with younger players, using the 4-corner model, explaining the reasoning, the importance behind it, goal setting, getting their input, getting their parents' input,
Buy-in, isn't it?
Background. Yeah, getting a
buy-in.
buy-in. If we don't engage them in the process, you're going to struggle to take the next step forward. You've got to give them an end goal that they see achievable, that we coaches and players can reflect on and refine. It can't just be all us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, make it and play in the game, especially if they have longevity in the game. So, yeah.
One moment in your career where you walked away thinking, if I don't take that next step up, will I ever get there?
I think the one without doubt that was, you could determine it a failure, but it turned into a positive, was I spent 2 years doing my A licence with the FA of Wales, and that incorporated 2 7-day residential courses, a lot of logbook coaching tasks, but I failed twice on my 45-minute examination. So that was difficult to take. I mean, you put a lot of effort into it and you put a lot of work into it. However, the process in my mind learnt me so much about coaching different abilities and an array of different people, coaches, players. I spoke to an ex-pro who was really open and honest about how he'd had issues along the way and dealing with the failures as well as success in football, because it's not a straight line. There was a coach there that I really admired, the way he structured things, the way he progressed sessions, the way he got his terminology across, the way he adapted to the information that I've been given to try and take me on the next step. So I've not got my A licence at the moment, but I want to work in an academy. So when I come back, I really try to funnel in all that information to my coaching, to my structures, to my learning, to managing players. I was fortunate enough to do that. So whilst it was initially a disappointment, I very much think it was the backbone that allowed me to step on and go up another level. I really realised very quickly when I went into the academy environment how harsh the professional game can be. Extremely harsh. You spoke earlier about releasing players, which is big facet, particularly within youth football and academies. And it can be further complicated, I think, where the environment can be quite egotistical. I think by nature, I think football suffers a little bit more than other sports, and you can have a lot of egos within players, within the staff. People want to succeed. It's about personalities. It's about characters. There's a very fine line, I think, between a self-confidence to where it becomes over-arrogance. And I think that's as much as in coaching as in players. you've got to have a self-confidence within your own ability. You're not going to engage with other players within the game, for example. You're actually not going to achieve, I don't think, what you could achieve as a player because, okay, unless you're in a Lionel Messi and you can play individually throughout a game, you've got that level of ability, you're that gifted. You can still be a very, very good individual player, but you need to be playing within that team to ultimately be effective, because that's where your success comes as a team. Your individual success comes through that team. So I think you've got to have self-confidence. You've got to be, so going back to your initial question, it's a very harsh environment. Players need to be treated as human beings, not commodities. We spoke about that before. And I think that's what I've always tried to do. And I think that's what coaches. My belief, and this was in my work life as well as in sport, but quite up to the level of the other player, but you may have improved that player noticeably to where his starting point was, yet you may have had little shown improvement on the other. And there can be many reasons behind that. But when I look at my job as a coach, my role as a coach, I want to leave the individual, the units within the team and the team in a better place in terms of the four corners at the end of the season or at the end of my time with them, however long that may be, our start point. That value add is very important to me. You've got two players in your team, they're absolutely brilliant. They may have been like that 9 months, a year, 2 years earlier, but somebody who comes to me and say, your group's really improved as an average or across their average ability level from when you first took them on. If you get the perfect individual who don't want to engage within the team environment, something's been missed. So yeah, value added for me. Well, going back to the value added, what that doesn't do, that doesn't guarantee anybody a contract. You can't guarantee anybody that. So don't confuse, I think, because you're going to achieve that value added, you're going to say win a tournament or guarantee 4 or 5 players scholarships. But I think it's the best way to try and raise their ability levels for the right reason and in the right way to get the right output. And it give you a better chance more often than not. Tying that into your question is part of the, and again, I keep referring to communication, openness, clarity, building relationships, and using the 4-corner model. If I've got a player that's really individually talented, but he just doesn't engage with the team, he don't want to be a team player, I use the side corner within the 4 corners and try and give him an understanding of where I'm coming from. And sometimes, if I've got the right people involved, I'll use other people around me, and that can even be players. That could be a team captain to try and show the bigger picture of where we're trying to get the input of the player. I've done it on another occasion where I had no success. I've actually given them more and more responsibility. I've made 2 of them team captain, and they really bought into it, and it changed their perception once they had that responsibility. Their output is better than the sum of the individuals because they've got that collectiveness, that understanding. When you talk about working in units, working in a team, to me, getting that, that's part of the skill of a coach or a manager, is getting that across to a team that if they play collectively, their output can be better than their skill set. So that's how I would mix and match the two as a starting point. It's a long process and you have to reflect on it. Sports emotive. If you're not getting results, it can be hard. If you're not getting results in training ground by progression or not literally in terms of win, lose or draw. I know in an academy environment, that's one positive about it. You're not measured on results, you're measured on performance and progression, but everybody wants to win. And it should be instilled in you. You want to win, especially professional. So it's a balancing act that needs reflecting on and refining quite often. It doesn't always work first time, but you've got to get that initial buy-in to see a bigger long-term picture. If you start off with no picture and no agreement and no buy-in, you're going to struggle and things can get quite personal and then you're not going to progress.
I want to talk about your family in.
My wife I met at 17, 18. We're sort of still together now, married 45 years plus. No real interest in football, but she's got facets in life that I just really admire. She's artistic, but she's got attention to detail. She's a very hard... only second to her, that is. I've got 2 wonderful children that have been involved in sport. Daughter is PE teacher. She's played ladies football regular. My son played a lot of cricket. He's in London now. I don't see him as often as I like to, but probably see him every 6 weeks, a month, 6 weeks or so. And I like both of those because they've got They've got honesty, so they've got important principles in life. And I think that's given me, my family's given me a good backbone to go and enjoy my football, and they've given me the time that I feel that I can do it and not be questioned. So I really appreciate that. I think behind most people, whatever facet of life you're in,
For anyone starting in their journey, whether it's coaching, whether it's being in sport,
my wife knows by now that the moods that I sometimes get in, or disappointments, and how it can affect you. You like to think at this age a lot less than when you were younger, but if that love of the game is really in you and that competitive edge, you do. And you've got to have an understanding family that you're right. You can come away from the game sometimes, can be a sounding board, and they can all also understand some of your. It's very, very important. Grandkids
Yeah.
now, got 4.
Brilliant.
Club.
Great pathway.
I was so impressed with how the engaged children, the environment was so positive. It was an open environment for learning. Additionally, a thing that I think is so important with a coach is authenticity. You've got to be yourself. There's so much data out there in this day and age, and so much resource for coaches that if you don't watch it, you could end up trying to be somebody else. So I think authenticity is very important. Respect, and a work ethic. But I think one of my mottos has always been fail to prepare, prepare to fail. You know, if you want people to buy into you, you've got to be a role model and lead and give everything. And for me, for my ability and my skill set, I need to prepare a session. I need to or a player. I can't do it off the top of my head. That's disrespectful to the player and ultimately to myself. So preparation is
Vital, isn't it?
is key. But I do think being authentic really is. Some stage you've got to settle on the skill set you want, your beliefs within the game. They can see through people that were false. I think if you do that and you're open and honest, where do you put I go back on my dad's shoulder,
Yeah.
put Linux up, 5-year-old. Dad gave me a work ethic, gave me respect for others, and he gave me with true love and a beautiful game. I think that says it all.